This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Mike Whitlow, the MD at ECR Minerals, and Mike Parker, the recently appointed consultant geologist. Thank you both for joining us today. Mike Parker, if I could come to you first, please, and just really get a bit of an introduction to yourself, an overview, why you've joined ECR here, what your aspirations are with the company.
Well, I've known Mike for several years, and we've always gone on really well, and he's always been talking about his role in ECR and what's happening in Australia. And I became intrigued with the projects, looked at that. And then when Mike said, there's a potential to advise and come and be more of a part of the company, I thought that's a great opportunity for me. I'm very happy to be here and advising them on what's happening in Australia and adding to my sort of portfolio of knowledge. I've been a geologist for 40 years, done a lot of work all around the world, and I'm very intrigued and excited to be involved with ECR in Australia right now.
Okay. And are you be assisting them on all aspects of the exploration, is that right, or across all the projects?
Yeah, I think my role is basically to act as an interface between the board and what's happening in the field. I have a lot of experience in identifying targets in efficient ways and designing drill programs and basically assisting the guys in the field. Adam, the guy that's in the field, is extremely competent, very good geologist, doesn't need my help to do the field work, but I think basically to act as a base and to give support and to be a person to bounce ideas off, I can be quite useful in that way.
Okay, good. Well, let's catch up if we can on some of the recent developments at ECR on the exploration front. So, I mean, first of all, when we think about what's going on generally with the exploration, you've got, of course, exploration going on at Lolworth and Tambo, but of course the maiden diamond drilling campaign has commenced at the Tambo Gold Project. You say it's targeting beneath the historical workings of the Duke of Cornwall Swift's Creek area. So just tell us a little bit about what this work entails and what the overall objective really of it is.
Yeah, it's a pilot program that's been designed basically to test the continuity of the indications we have at surface. And what we do have at surface is some quartz veining with high gold and bismuth values, and we can track those bismuth values with the XRF machine in the core. And what's coming out to date gives us confidence that what we're intersecting deeper down in the drill holes actually has continuity with surface. So that's going to be the sort of the result of this program, is just to test some continuity and look at the scope of the mineralization.
Okay, so testing continuity. So this is quite a short program, about 2 weeks. You're going down to about 500 meters, so not super deep, but you expect that'll be enough information to give you that kind of, seeing what the continuity is looking like.
Yeah, it's a proof of concept program, and it's 4 holes total in 500 meters, and none of them are very deep.
Yeah.
But the program will be able to see, as I mentioned, continuity and get some idea of scope there as well.
Okay. And how might that inform sort of the next steps, or are we sort of too early here to be thinking about that?
I think it's a bit too early. I think it'll give us an idea of the form of the mineralization that we're looking at, and that'll help design the next steps going forward into 2025.
Right. Okay. Good. And of course, Lolworth as well. You've had some rock chip samples analysed. 378 rock chip samples have been analysed there. Some pretty high grade gold coming through there. 11, 14, 14.7 grams per ton gold. So this has been historical rock chips that you've had sampled. I mean, what are these kind of things telling you? These kind of results?
One of these are actually new areas that have been trenched and sampled, so it's actually new gold that's coming out. It just tells us once again about the scope of the mineralization. We have some very important pathfinder elements there, particularly silver and lead, and we believe that with some very fast and efficient geochem, probably using the XRF as a analytical tool, we can actually start to trace out continuity of some of that mineralization. So Lolworth as well is looking really, really good, and we hope to get in there after the wet season. That'll be end of quarter 2, 25.
Right. Okay. So this is work that's been done now. Will again inform a work program in quarter 2, 2025. You say
it's more likely going to be end Q1 start of Q2. So it's around that sort of time. So I think based on the last couple of years, we've been able to get the guys out in the field late March, and I think this year it was actually a bit later. It was more like end of April, start of May. So, depending on the weather and the access will always depend on when that program starts. As Mike says, the silver that we got from the last set of results, I think Gorge Creek West, that sort of area is really turning out to be quite interesting. We've got a great confidence now that we're getting sort of closer to the source of this gold, and there's definitely consistency and continuity in what we're seeing at Ravenswood and Charters Towers and their sort of pathfinders, and the synergies with what we've been seeing out in the field up there too. In addition to that, we've made that announcement that we've collaborated with the Geological Survey, and there's been a third party academic who's shown a great interest. We'll be talking more about that in due course. But that will be a 2-year collaboration when signed, and that'll mean again it gives us great confidence that not only is the technical team at ECR particularly interested in these assets, the news and the results that we've had this season, but really, the kind of additional third-party validation we've been getting from, the Geological Survey, who themselves have been conducting some work. They'll share the results with us. That'll help us with our understanding, and vice versa. We'll work with them to better understand the opportunity for their guys. And as I say, there's a third-party academic institution that's shown an interest as well. So we'll talk more about that when we're permitted to do so. But yeah, it's a great step forward for us. I think getting under the surface at Lolworth, given the size and of the Lolworth range itself, has been a great step forward. Give us a greater understanding. Bringing Mike on has been a huge plus for me. Known Mike for a number of years, got a good relationship. I think some people thought, Mike Whitlow is licking his finger and putting it in the air and seeing which way the wind blows to make some of these decisions and informed choices along with Adam. And that simply just isn't the case. And I think, having the benefit of Mike and his time now is hugely beneficial for shareholders and for us as a company too. So, thoroughly pleased to have him on board. And yeah, things are shaping up from a technical standpoint to look quite nice.
Okay. Good. Well, I want to think a little bit about the bigger picture here. Of course, you had news recently about the recoveries being pretty good, looking at Blue Mountain then, potentially looking to have a gold recovery operation going on. So, how does Lolworth and Tambo here, the exploration that you're doing at the moment, and of course planning further work in Q1, Q2 next year, how does all of this sort of fit into the Blue Mountain element as well? And perhaps what does Q1, Q2, or H1, let's say, 2025.
Before you fire that question in at Mike, I just want to be clear that the access at Blue Mountain is not like the access at Lolworth. So, we're not bound as heavily by weather and access. It's a cattle property originally. There are access roads in there. There's actually I think what would you call it? Tourist park, lodges within 10, 12 kilometres of the actual asset at Blue Mountain. So this is a visited all year round, accessible location. I just wanted to make that point that we don't mistaken what we're doing at the end of the Lolworth season with constricting us of moving the Blue Mountain project forward, operational on the ground, or indeed with some of the analysis and desktop work that we're conducting as we speak. Sorry to interject there, Jans.
No, that's okay. No, that makes sense. I've got the access there all year round, so that's fine. Mike Parker, how perhaps does it all shape up for H1, let's say next year? What activities could look like on the company from ECR's point of view in really making a gold discovery and getting something potentially to attract majors or getting something into production?
I think going back to Blue Mountain, obviously this is alluvial gold compared to Lolworth and Tambo, which are hard rock gold. So it's obviously more accessible from a sort of exploitation phase as a recovery phase. We've done some metallurgical test work there, and very encouragingly, we've seen that the majority, I think as much as 90% of the gold is in the gravity circuit. And I think we've talked amongst ourselves and realized that Queensland is becoming more sensitive to environmental sort of stewardship. So anything that any actual operation that uses gravity and doesn't go to chemical reagents such as cyanide or other is beneficial. So basically, Blue Mountain, we believe, can be a fairly clean, sustainable gold recovery operation in a fairly simple manner and a fairly early stage operation. So obviously it's something we want to focus on. So just to put it in context, Blue Mountain is an early stage project which can lead to production, whereas the other two are more longer term exploration projects.
Right. Okay. So you could be looking at a fairly active H1 then, with potentially looking to get into gold recoveries at Blue Mountain whilst continuing with bigger picture, longer term exploration drilling and finding out what you've got at Tambo and Lolworth.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I mean, look, we're talking about H1 next year when we're talking about Blue Mountain. I mean, we should be talking about Q4 this year as well. I mean, we've still got a bit of time left. There seems to be this attitude in the city of as soon as you get to December, everybody stops and the parties and fireworks and party poppers start going off. I mean, that Mike and I are northern men. We don't enjoy ourselves too much. We like to get to the coalface. We like to work and earn our crust, So we will be looking at how we can advance the project at Blue Mountain. A lot of internal discussion, planning and preparation, looking at the data, putting all of this together to see how best we can take that project forward. And of course, the likelihood is we will have boots on the ground in hopefully early Q1 early first half of next year. Mm-hmm. And, there are a number of things technically that we need to do, boxes to tick. It's a pretty simple method of producing gold. We saw that from the gold that we run through the pilot plant or test plant this year. So it's not a particularly complex method. As Mike says, it's environmentally friendly. We think it complements the sort of way that the state of Queensland are wanting to progress projects. So we think that's fantastic. And we've got the landowner on side as well. So, all of those are big ticks in the box. It shouldn't be that difficult. We probably want to have a look at this, inferred resource report, maybe a CPR, NI 43101, just get something of a technical opinion that people can hang the hats on. Because at the moment, whilst it might be exciting to us as a company and as an internal team, there's still some, external confirmation that we need to provide. And of course, it's our view to get that into production as soon as possible, generate revenue and give investors, again, what they want. We said this when we came into the job. We know what investors want and we know what we need to do to get there. And we're hopefully doing it as quickly as we possibly can. Again, to reiterate what I've already said, there's been people sort of make suggestions, well, they do a lot of talking, they don't do a lot of delivery. Now we're starting to deliver at the fun end of this business. And it's great to have Mike on board as part of that too.
Good. Well, let's just finish off, Mike, if we can, on, of course, the tax losses, which have been something that's been in the company for a very long time. So you signed an exclusivity agreement with an interested party who would be considering to, in fact, take Mercator Gold and those tax losses. So a deposit has been received. So these guys are obviously serious and the negotiations are ongoing. So, I mean, could we now, after a long time, probably, 10 years plus, actually see some crystallization from these tax losses?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said it about the assets within the business, and I'll say it about and of which the tax losses and non-core are still assets, right? So, this as a business has been incubated long enough. It's our job now to start to unlock that value. And, we chose a party to run with. We signed exclusivity with them. And whilst that process was taking place, yet another company came in and signed a confidentiality agreement to get involved and look at, the opportunity. So, the pace of this is really starting to snowball. Nick and I have been communicating with a third party and the board of directors over the weekend. So that's how keen they are to drive this forward. There'll be a follow-up in the morning. As soon as we've got something that we're all happy with, the market will be informed. And it's significant. We're not talking change down the back of the sofa anymore. We're talking a material amount of cash that will underpin the value of this business, underpin its capital position, give us confidence in when we're looking at how we're going to develop our assets and get to revenue generation at Blue Mountain or indeed any additional assets. People seem to always assume that we're only focused on these assets. Anything else comes across our desk, we've now got more capacity to look at that with Mike Parker being involved with the business. So, we're looking at all options. But the ultimate message here is we're not going to do anything crazy. It'll be in the best interest of shareholders. Nick and I have been paid in stock as of the board for the last 13 months. 90% of that remuneration came in shares. So we're in the trenches with the shareholders. We'll do what's best for them. And yeah, I mean, it's fantastic piece of news. These tax losses have got a huge value, and it feels really like we're at the business end of that transaction too. So yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
Fun times ahead.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Mike Whitlow and Mike Parker from ECR Minerals, for your time today.
Yeah, no worries, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, thanks.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.